Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday morning Raptors Recovery members only live stream. And we are out here for April 14th, 2024. It is a special day. It really is. The final day. I was going to say the final game of the NBA season for the Raptors. The final day of the NBA season. All teams in action, 15 games in total, including the Raptors, 1 p.m. Eastern time against the Miami Heat. And it's special in I guess a couple of ways here. Special in the way of it being the final day of the season for the NBA, and especially it being, well, we're wrapping up also our Raptors Recovery stream for the season as well. It's our final edition of the Raptors Recovery members only Sunday morning stream. Just figured for over the course of the offseason, the streams will shift from watch parties, of course, because there's going to be no Raptors games. We still will do some watch parties here or there, but the bulk of the live streams on this channel will be will be covering Raptors news and Raptors roundup. So there won't be really a need for the Sunday morning stream. So this will be the final one of the season, and we'll kick these off again when the next season begins. But periodically, I will look to have member-exclusive content, but it just won't be on a weekly basis as we've done throughout the second half of the regular season here. Most Sundays, missed a few here and there, but most Sundays we've been covering the team in the streams like this. But today, I mean, it has just increasingly become difficult to do these streams because the Raptors have sucked. Every week is kind of the same story. Oh, look, we suck still. Okay. Well, great. We played 3 games this week. We lost them all. We suck. I guess near the end of the season, Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett have come back into the fold. They have been playing, so games have been a little bit more entertaining. But the recent loss to the Miami Heat is something I want to touch on in today's stream. So we'll look at that game against the Heat. We'll look at the season, I guess, as a whole. Not necessarily going in depth, but the season as a whole, and just what can we take away from the season. And then with those takeaways, before we wrap up today, we will look ahead to what the future may hold. Won't be super long today. After all, will be live at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time in just over 2 hours because the Raptors have that game at 1 p.m. against the Miami Heat. But first order of business here, first thing that has come up that I did want to discuss here was a bit of a curious decision by the Raptors yesterday. Malik Williams has signed on for the rest of the season for the Raptors. After his 10-day contract expired on Friday, he signed with the Raptors for the rest of the season. The deal only covers Sunday's game. It does not extend through 2024-2025. So initially, when he had signed this contract, I mean, I knew his 10-day contract was going to expire yesterday, and he would not be able to play today. But judging by the way Malik Williams played in his time with the Raptors, though brief, 10 days, unfortunately it was abundantly clear that Malik Williams was not an NBA caliber player, period. Defensively, he's decent, but offensively, he just pretty much lacks a simple touch to play effectively as a big man in the NBA. Could not score. Just doesn't score. Doesn't have any touch around the rim. So not only was I shocked when I saw that Malik Williams had signed a contract, because I was like, there's only one game. There's no need to sign a guy for 1 day. What does that contract even look like? Is it another 10-day contract? You're going to give this guy more than my yearly salary to play in one meaningless NBA game? I guess when you're a billion-dollar corporation like MLSE, you can afford to do something like that. But I almost felt spiteful. I'm like, there's no point of bringing this guy back. But when I initially saw the report that he signed a contract, I didn't know, I'm like, there's no way they're going to sign him just on a 10-day for one game. I don't know if there's any other contract structures out there. But my first thought was, are they no way. Are they actually going to give this guy a shot in training camp? Have you watched him? So I not only was I shocked by the report coming out about Williams, I was almost mad. I think I was mad. Like, why even bother? Like, am I watching the same shit that you guys are? But yeah, then further information came out. It's just a contract to get through the last game of the season here. I imagine this is going to be a rough watch today for the Raps. I imagine it's going to be a tough watch. It felt like, I mean, I guess we'll see. It did feel like with the players available for the Raptors last game, that was kind of the final hurrah for the season. Everyone was available. Like everyone that could realistically be available for the Raptors was available, unless I'm forgetting anybody. So the Raptors could just, go out there, play one last good game, and then pack it all up, bring in the tank brigade, and, the Raptors have locked up their position, but, you don't want to risk injuries at this point. Could just be the Raptors resting guys, avoiding injury, and packing it in for the season. So that's what it kind of felt like. So today could be a bit of a rough watch. I don't believe I've seen anything on RJ Barrett. I think I've seen that Emmanuel Quickley, at the very least, is not going to be playing. Just looking through here. Indeed, the only one of the non-long-term injuries that is not playing here is Emmanuel Quickley. So we will see on everybody else involved, but no Emmanuel Quickley at the very least. Anyways, my point being is that, the Raptors pretty much put out as full strength of a lineup as they could in the last game against the Miami Heat, and lost by 22. The Heat haven't been terrific recently, not by a long shot. So, they haven't been at their sparkling best. They're the 8 seed. I get they needed a win, and honestly, we needed a loss just in case with the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies are 27-54. We're 25-56. We didn't want to have any drama on the final day when it came to tanking. But even still, when you look at the roster available for the Raptors, this is like one of the only games in the last 20 where you can't just say, well, look what they had available. I know Malik Williams is not NBA caliber. Freeman Liberty probably barely is. But, that's 7 quality NBA players. That's Trent, Quickley, Olynyk, Dick, and Barrett starting. That's Brown and Abaji coming off the bench. Curious, actually, that Grady Dick started ahead of Abaji with both healthy, which Darko has been reluctant to do. But what I'm trying to say is, this Miami Heat team is pretty good, and I get that. But are they 22 points better than the Raptors at almost full strength? Full strength without Barnes and Pirtle because they have long-term injuries. I didn't watch the entire game because I said the Jays game, but I did watch a lot of the second half. And definitely watching this game, it felt to me like the Raptors were a lot better than the way they played. I understand. How do you motivate the guys to play at this stage? I get that, but the Raptors have maintained a good degree of motivation to keep playing these games, and it did feel like, as I mentioned earlier, with everyone who could play playing and having a pretty strong lineup, comparatively to where we've been the last couple of months, did feel like, it would have been nice to see these guys band together for one last high-quality performance, and that wasn't forthcoming. An 11-point disadvantage at the end of the first quarter, down by 16 at the half. Yeah, it definitely left quite a bit to be desired from that performance. I ultimately thought the Raptors would just at the very least stay competitive and keep it close, but basically the game was not competitive at any stage. The Raptors lost all 4 quarters. They lost by 11, they lost by 5, they lost by 1, they lost by 5 again. So, yeah, disappointing. That won't, in the grand scheme, I'm not going to be dwelling on this game for the summer or anything like that, but would have been nice to just have one last quality game, you know what I mean? Kind of crazy. Winner what in chat, by the way, saying Didn't know who Malik Williams was. Well, before he signed with the Raptors, the first time I didn't know who he was. I know who he is now. I may never forget who he is based on some of the nightmarish stuff I've seen when he tries to make a layup. He's not very good at making layups with nobody around him, which is a trait of a high school basketball player. Actually, it shouldn't even be the trait of a high school basketball player. Maybe one like myself, but in the NBA, you got to make those. Full stop. You're open under the rim, and you're almost 7 feet tall. You should score 99 times out of 99. You should never miss that. But he does it pretty frequently. Anyways, point being, disappointed in that game, and expectation for today is not a strong lineup. And if it is one of the stronger lineups, then I imagine a lot less minutes than normal for most of the guys involved here. So it'll be a tough watch, but I've sat through some tough watches before. We sat through the Tampa season, but I guess the point I'm going to make now, and kind of recapping the season, is the title of the stream here, recapping the season that was. As bad as the Tampa season got, it never got this bad, honestly. Quite a bit of those games maintained a good degree of competitiveness, and oftentimes those Tampa lineups were stronger than what the Raptors had at their disposal this season. The Raptors this season also had the luxury of playing in their home arena, which they did not have when they were playing in Tampa. I say luxury, but it's just the status quo. You play in your home arena when you have a home game. The Raptors didn't do that when they were in the Tampa season. I can't imagine how difficult that would have been to go through. But even then, that season didn't get as bad as this. So how did we, let's almost start from the how did we get here. Maybe we'll save that for a main channel video. But it really shouldn't be overlooked how the Raptors did get here, though. This team had aspirations to make the playoffs. It felt at the very least it'd be a play-in tournament team. And in addition, when the Raptors traded that top 6 pick last season to the Spurs, I was upset. I said that should probably be top 10 protected, not top 6. Top 10, we wouldn't be sweating right now. But I guess, with the top 6 pick, the thought was, well, I said it many times. Hey, top 6 pick, and Raptors won't be bad enough to get a top 6 pick. They won't even be close to bad enough to get a top 6 pick. So that's irrelevant. That pick is going to convey this year. Woo! Think about that. 9 months ago, 8 months ago, this team is way too good to be anywhere close to being a bottom 6 team. Well, with a game to spare, they've locked up the bottom 6 or the top 6 in the reverse standings. This team had playoff aspirations. They had a lot of talented players to start the season. They underperformed. Let's not forget why they're in this phase here, this tanking phase. They weren't good enough to start the season and lost anything really to play for. So the management decided to pack it up. But the management packed it up with Siakam and Anunoby once the team was struggling to get a play-in tournament even position. That's when the tank started. So it's not like, we made these trades and then it was like, oh, well, now we're in a development stage. No, we were forced into becoming this tanking team because of how badly the team was to start the season. I think that's what people kind of gloss over when it comes to the season. It's like, development season. We're tanking for the pick. But the main reason we are tanking is because we were poor when we were trying to be good. We've been trying to be trying to be worse since January. Up until that point, this team was trying to win. It was that team that started the season with those playoff aspirations. So definitely an extremely disappointing season. If we're going to grade the Raptors season here, I try to look back at where they started the season. A lot of, it was a doomsday scenario to start the season, almost awaiting a doomsday scenario. You had Siakam on an expiring contract. You had Anunoby on an expiring contract and Trent on an expiring contract. Didn't have your pick this year. Couldn't trade any first-round picks in the future to build on that team. It was, we were staring at a doomsday scenario. From a front office perspective, I think they've done pretty well, all things considered. Granted, they put themselves in this tough hole with these contracts. They got out of it tremendously with the OG Anunoby trade. That trade just looks fantastic for the Raptors. We were happy about Emmanuel quickly coming. Most people were happy about RJ. I wasn't really feeling the RJ pickup, but RJ has been just sensational for the Raptors. So, that's awesome. You get you get the 32nd. Is that locked in now, actually? The 32nd overall pick. 31st, for the Raptors. Pistons are only a game back of the Wizards. Okay, so I guess that's not quite officially locked in. But, you're probably going to have the 31st overall pick in the NBA draft from that trade. So, that worked out. The Siakam one left a bit to be desired. Again, given the situation, it was decent. I think Raptors fans were just mostly upset by the fact that we didn't make a move with Siakam sooner. But all things considered from a front office perspective, they've kind of dug themselves out of a pretty sizable hole. They've done so pretty well. So, if I had to grade the season, on court, it cannot be anything but an F. It just can't be. It's honestly, it's surreal how the Raptors were as poor as they were, considering the preseason aspirations the team had. You can't sugarcoat it. This has been nearly disastrous. This has been disaster. It's been a disaster for the Raptors, honestly, this season. A bottom 6 seed is incredible. They were projected to win 37 games. They're going to win probably 25. It's a remarkable fall off to expectations. Maybe the second highest in the league behind the Grizzlies in terms of how far under their win projections. And even then, as bad as the Grizzlies have been, they've been better than the Raptors in this stretch, even with the likes of G.G. Jackson available. So front office wise, decent job. On court wise, it's been just horrendous. Not even really picking off wins here or there. They've had one surprise win in the tank. Whereas every other tanking team picks some games off here or there. The Raptors have not. They beat the Bucks, which was the surprise. But along the way, they had, I think it was 3 40-point losses. Twice they set the record for largest home loss in franchise history, and then they set the record for their largest loss period in franchise history. Development-wise, we talk about a development season here. I hate to be as harsh, and I don't want to feel like I'm picking reasons to be, upset, but development-wise, Barnes kind of hit the ground running this season. You wonder, from a coaching perspective, how much the new coaching staff had to do with that rise of Scotty Barnes to an all-star appearance this season. Was how much does that factor on coaching, or was Scotty Barnes just going to get busy, get to work in the offseason, and step his game up? Probably side with the latter there. As far as the players on the team, Trent is hitting maybe threes more consistently, but he's not doing anything else better. In fact, he's regressed in a lot of areas this season. Also around the team, Grady Dick has, gotten significantly better throughout the season. But, is that, again, are we going to put this on coaching, or is just Grady Dick needing to find his footing in the NBA and settle into the league? I'd probably go more with the former there and say coaching may have had quite a bit to do with Grady Dick. But, you could definitely make the case that, hey, here's a guy who already had talent, just needed a bit of time to get adjusted to a new league. Quickly and Barrett, as much as they've improved since their time in New York, particularly RJ Barrett by a landslide, RJ Barrett was pretty much from day one, really good for the Raptors. So it wasn't as if we had to work on reshaping him, transforming his role. Like RJ, it feels like what my point being, it feels like a lot of where there you could make a case that there's been development with this team has been, I don't know, I think that's still good. We've had development and we're improving, but a lot of that development has been basically as a result of the individual players. It's not been as a result of, coaching development there. So that scares me a little bit moving forward, because it's like, we keep spewing about this development-minded coach that we have, and this is a future-oriented coach. Like, there's been really no evidence to me as of yet that he's taken players to different levels here. It's hard for that to showcase in a year, granted, but there's just been such little evidence for me to suggest that this staff that we have here is going to continue to build with this team. It just doesn't seem like that to me. It hasn't been apparent at the very least. And I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm cherry picking with stuff like this, but I feel like if you want to actually give the coaching staff credit, then you're really cherry picking, because there's like nothing to really credit them with, honestly. So as for the future, I really like the players that we have here. I worry about the absolute top end talent of the team. Like if they actually, down the line, that's a long time away. But I do worry a little bit about the complete top end talent. But I think RJ Barrett is doing a lot of great things with his game that is repeatable next season. I think Emmanuel Quickley he's at the absolute floor with his efficiency right now, in terms of like 2-pointers specifically. I think his playmaking is only bound to get better. So I have faith there. Grady Dick, I've been a believer in since day zero. I mean, he was the highest on my draft wish list at the time of the pick. Cason Wallace was first on my list. Grady Dick was second, but Cason Wallace wasn't available at 13. Grady Dick has emerged as a terrific pick at 13th overall. Hopefully, I'm hoping and expecting him to continue to improve as time goes on. I think Pirtle is still a good fit with this group. Scotty Barnes is, you know how I feel. Yeah, obviously a superstar, sort of potential superstar talent, even potentially now with how well he was playing before the injury. Going to have like a good amount of rest here. He's going to hopefully hit the ground running in the offseason with his training. And hopefully we see, further developments out of him. I like Abaji's game. I hope he can continue to improve. Olynyk's a good vet for these guys to have. So overall, it's a good group of players. We'll have to see, I suppose, on, if this is the right coaching staff to lead this team. If we're going to see improvements next year. Understanding that success is not linear. Yeah, I guess that could be the case for a bunch of these guys. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the Raptors have to improve next season. You can't be this bad again. Just can't be 25 wins bad. It's honestly a little bit shocking and embarrassing seeing where the season has gone for the Raptors here. So next season just has to be better. It has to be. And if it isn't, without real excuse, because I think there's you so many excuses you could give for this season, which are validated. But there's also a lot of things that really can't be excused. So next season, barring any crazy excuse that could derail the season, results just simply have to improve, and they have to improve pretty drastically. It's not even going to be a case of your 25-win team, you become a 30-win team. This team has to win 35-plus games next season. This team needs to be in the final week of the NBA season, challenging for seeding for at least a play-in tournament. And if that's not the case, with this group of players that's going to be reinforced with draft picks and hopefully 1 or 2 pickups in free agency that aren't, as bad as Jalen McDaniels, this team needs to be better. And if it isn't better, then I don't think that we got the right group in place to lead this team. I like the players we have. I believe in the long-term project that this team has going on, something I haven't been able to say for a while. And I think it's great that at the end of every game with the Raptors, I'm not thinking about a doomsday offseason with Anunoby, Siakam, Trent on expiring contracts. That's been great, not having to think about that. But there's still those doubts in my mind about the coaching staff, so we'll see how that changes. But, there's opportunity to fix next season, an opportunity to get a full offseason with the head coach. They seem to have been, over the season, acquiring and accumulating players that fit with the way Darko wants to coach this team. And, there's been improvements. It's not been all bad. There's been improvements on offense. The team is moving the ball well. So the offense honestly looks better sometimes with almost like worse players involved because they're always sharing the ball. That's not as cool when there's clearly gaps in talent with the people on the floor and everyone's sharing the ball equally. And it's like, well, no, Barnes is better than some of these guys. He should get the ball more than some of these guys. So we'll see how that changes. I despise the 4+1 lineups. I hope that's changed and rectified next season. I don't imagine it will. I mean, all season it's been terrible, the 4+1 lineups. Like, all season it's been bad, and they haven't changed it. So I don't think we're in for a change on that next season. I don't know. I don't know what the overall point is here, but I think you can tell my feelings toward the team are positive. My feelings toward the coaching staff are negative. I hope I'm wrong about the coaching staff, and I hope it's all positive, but full stop. This team needs to be better next season. That's it. If it's not, you got to make some drastic changes because this season really is unacceptable. Honestly, unacceptable. And we cannot grow accustomed to bad games, bad seasons. Like, we cannot spill into this. We spiraled out of control this season, and we've become accustomed to these bad games. The Tampa season was very clear. Like, Raptors fans were like, okay, next season, we got to come back, bounce back right away. It hasn't really been like that this season. It's almost a case this season where we've begun to accept who this team is. And it's really difficult to claw yourself out of a hole like this. So, yes, rectify for next season. Enough on that. Let's get wrapped up here. We got a game later today. I'll be live in a couple of hours as Raptors take on the Miami Heat once again. I just don't imagine the Raptors go close to full strength. If they do, I do not imagine the Raptors go close to full minutes for a lot of their guys. Does this game have significance for the Miami Heat? They're in 8th. They are a game back of Philly. Philly are playing Brooklyn. Phew. I don't know who has a tiebreaker there, but it doesn't. I don't think they have. I don't know what the tiebreaker is there, but there's not really a lot for Miami to play for today either. I wonder if they rest some people at a certain point. Whichever way, their bench will comfortably crush our bench, and honestly, maybe our starters, which is ugly. But I think it's going to be a bad game today. Hopefully, there's something out there. Hopefully, something goes on that makes this one a little bit exciting. But yeah, I'm not expecting fireworks today. But hopefully, we can all have a good time together on the stream. And then, of course, we always do. Honestly, I'm excited for this nightmare to be over. It's been, thinking back, it might feel like this season has flown by looking back, but this one hasn't. This is to me felt like probably the longest season of covering this team. Yeah, because the Tampa season was 72 games, so as much as that one could have felt long, it was a condensed season as well. Yeah, it's been tough. I've been a Raptors fan since about, we'll say 2006, but I haven't really locked in as a fan since like 2013, and like really, really locked in since 2018. So this has been the most difficult season in that stretch, but bar none. It's been one of the most difficult seasons of all time. 25 games, 25 wins. And it's not like they were coming in as a bad team. They were coming in as a good team. It's crazy. So, yeah, only should, please, goodness gracious, should only be up from here. But it's been a tough season, and I'm ready for it to be over. So, Lien, this was your final Raptors Recovery Sunday morning stream of the season. Summer months, it's all about covering news on the stream. So there isn't really a need to have this particular stream. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. This particular stream doesn't really have a place in the off season. We're just gonna be covering news all the time anyway. So there's nothing really extra to cover here. I will look for some member-specific content at times in the off-season. No promises on like scheduling for that, but I want to get something out and then bring the weekly member stream back for the next season. That is going to be the plan. So anybody did tune in, thank you everyone for engaging in the chat here. I really appreciate the people that have supported with memberships throughout the season. I really appreciate the people who come through on the Sundays. Like, the memberships mean a lot. YouTube, when it comes to viewership, there's never really any guarantee when it comes to that, financially. But with memberships, you have a certain idea on a month-to-month basis of what's going to be coming in, and that's big for content creators. So, the support like this doesn't go unnoticed. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of my viewers, but I really appreciate everybody who has been a part of this project. So, last word here. The giveaway ends today. The giveaway will end at halftime of the Miami Heat game later today. I haven't actually checked in a couple of days how many responses we've hit, but we are at 70 responses. So 70 people have entered for the giveaway, and I'm excited to see where that goes. So thanks again, everybody. I will be back in a couple of hours. Thank you, everyone, again. I appreciate your viewership. So thank you. I will be back in less than 2 hours live for the Raptors game against the